Good evening. You know, here a few weeks ago, I had did a post on Facebook, and I was thinking about doing video or videos, just giving some relationship advice. And for those that don't know, I am a divorcee. Been divorced now for just over 3.5 years, and you know, before that, I was married for just over 21 years, and I just thought, I'm not gonna point fingers of blame at anybody because there was a lot of fault to go around, and the reason why my marriage failed. So I'm not gonna point fingers. She did, it was all her fault or anything like that. What I just wanted to share is some things that I learned. It's things that I probably should have. There's some advice that was given to me that I should have taken and heeded when I was before the divorce happened and when I was married. But it's some lessons that I learned afterwards and having gone through what I went through. And it's just some advice that I want to pass on, some tidbits of wisdom that I want to pass on, so others can avoid what I went through. So, I'm just going to start off kind of just doing videos on certain topics. So, and if anybody has any ideas or suggestions, please feel free to let me know. I would really appreciate that, because then that kind of helps me about what direction I should go for future videos that I do. So, I guess number one, this is where I think is where I'm going to start with, is what I think is should be a bedrock foundation of any relationship, be it romantic relationship, friendship, work relationship, but just specifically like in a marriage relationship, communication. Communication, I believe, needs to be a bedrock foundation of any relationship. And when I say communication, I mean good, open, honest communication, no secrets. Now, when I say no secrets, I mean if you're giving gifts at Christmas time or for birthdays, obviously you're not going to tell them, "Hey, I bought you this," before you give them the gift. You want that to stay a secret until they open their gift. That is not when I say no secrets, that is obviously not what I'm talking about. What I mean when I say no secrets would be like having a separate bank account for yourself and hiding that from your spouse or your significant other, or having a relationship outside of your, like, if you're cheating on your spouse or your significant other. That's keeping secrets. And this is something that I will even admit that I've struggled with myself, is being careful about who you talk to and what you talk about with people. Because, one of the things that can happen is and I've had people say, it's like, "Oh, this is a bunch of baloney. It doesn't really happen." You can cheat on your partner without ever having a physical, intimate encounter with someone. You can cheat on them emotionally. How can you do that? Talking, the internet, with the internet, chat. I remember back in the day with chat rooms. Now, we got instant messenger, like Facebook Messenger, direct message through a lot of different apps. You get like WhatsApp, Google Hangouts. There's such a slew of different apps that you can use where you can chat privately with people, and it's things like that where it can take on a life of its own, where you can get involved with someone online without ever meeting them in person, and you're putting more importance in that than you are in your own relationship. So be careful about who you're talking with, because in some of those cases, you're giving that person that you're talking with online attention that should be going to your spouse or significant other. Also, I think when it comes to communication, anytime there's disagreements, and I'm going to say this, in any relationship, especially like dating, engagement, marriage relationship, there are going to be disagreements. You are never going to agree on everything 100% of the time. So there will be disagreements. There's going to be disagreements, arguments. And I have found that in my current relationship with my fiancée, Melissa, what we have found that helps to avoid getting to a screaming match and fights is when, by realizing, first off, never argue when you're mad or when you're angry. And the reason I say that is when you're angry, you're going on emotion. And when emotion's high, logic is low. So you're going off all that emotion, and you're not thinking logically. My dad used to say this phrase, and I've heard this said many times: let cooler heads prevail. Excellent advice. Excellent advice. And basically, and this is something that Melissa and I do, is when she's upset or I'm upset or we're both upset, we give each other space, give each other time to calm down, cool down, and then we'll come back and then we'll sit down and we'll discuss it and we'll talk about it. By that time, we've had a chance to let our anger subside, and we can actually think through things clearly, and actually can have a constructive conversation where we can figure out a resolution to the problem, rather than us screaming and yelling at each other where nothing's being accomplished. Because when you're yelling at each other, neither one of you are listening to each other. Nobody's listening to each other when you're yelling at each other. Problem I learned, and the other thing is then this is something that, that when it comes to communication, using tact helps. And what I mean by that is, and this is something that, another thing my dad, when I was growing up, my dad always said to me was, just because it comes in here doesn't mean it has to come out here. So before you engage this. Think before you speak. I don't have the verse handy right offhand. It's a verse out of the Bible. I think it's in James. Book of James, I think it's in chapter 3, which says, be slow to anger, or quick to listen, slow to anger, and slow to speak. Basically, I mean, we should be listening more than speaking or losing our temper. Because a lot of time, and there's times we got to, because if we listen more, if we actually are active in, for one, allow ourselves to calm down and listen, we're actually going to take in information that's trying to be presented. Even if we don't agree with it, at least be calm and listen. So, because like I said, issues are going to come up in relationships. There's going to be, like, how are we going to pay for this bill, or what this is going on. How do we need and things are to resolve issues. Going on emotion will never work. Is never gonna work, because you're gonna be thinking, you're gonna be going off emotions, and you're not thinking, okay, how can we do this, how can we do this, and you're not gonna be able to. Problem solving is so much easier on a cooler head. Working with when you're on a cooler head, when you're more calm. You know, and I've been with Melissa now for 6 years. I can count on one hand the number of times we've yelled at each other. And I have to say, every time we did, I was the one that I yelled first, and she yelled back. So it was every one of them, and I'll take responsibility for that. It was my fault. So, and we've, I've been asked, how do we do it? I was like, well, for one, when we started off in our relationship, we made a commitment to keeping the lines of communication open, honest, clear, and no secrets. And we've stuck to that. And it's been a huge help for us. And the other thing is for me personally, my mentality, I have a fixer mentality. So even if it's not something that the issue is not, and it has nothing to do with me, there are times where she has to tell me, I just need you to listen. I don't need you to fix it. Which has helped us a lot, because she's been through a lot in her life, and she just needs somebody to listen, because she just needs to vent or needs to get the frustrations out. And she's done that for me too. And it makes a huge difference. And so that has brought us closer together in our relationship, is the fact that we've just been able to made the effort to listen to each other. And also, like I said, when we've had disagreements, instead of getting into a shouting match, taking a little bit of time away, calming down, then coming back, sitting down and discussing it rationally and calmly. And we've been able to solve a lot of the issues we've had, and without it blowing up into a big, huge fight. So, but I guess that's pretty much all I have for right now. Like I said, if anybody's got any ideas, please feel free to share. I would be more than willing to, if you have questions, would like some advice, I'm not afraid to give advice. Just either I'm going to post this, and this is going to get shared on Facebook, where it's going to be accessed. So if you want to talk, if you have a question, you want to ask me directly, message me on Facebook, or I'm going to have this on YouTube as well. So if you want, just comment to the video and give an idea what you think would be a good topic to discuss. So hope you all have a good evening. You take care. God bless.